Welcome to Mundo Crypto's newscast. Bitcoin manages to get a grip of its fall and sits in a lateralization phase within the $30,000 support zone.
And the Terra project's historic disaster continues to make headlines. Today, we'll be covering Do Kwon's plans to save LUNA and UST, in addition to the news around Coinbase and Bitcoin City progress in El Salvador.
Let's get started.
Coinbase may be in deep waters as its quarterly report shows negative economic results in the first quarter of 2022. Important metrics such as users' monthly transactions fell by 19%, while transaction volume decreased by $238 million, signaling the current distress of the company.
However, that's not all. A shocking piece of information was revealed as the exchange went on to reference a bankruptcy scenario which put investors on high alert. Coinbase decided to update the custody and management policy for its clients' funds, and now, in the event of bankruptcy, clients could lose all their crypto assets.
Exactly. As highlighted in the report, in the event of bankruptcy, users would be considered unsecured general creditors. What does this mean? Well, it means that customers would not be able to claim any specific assets from the exchange in bankruptcy proceedings, making their funds inaccessible. The problem with this, of course, is that in exactly what happens in the current banking system and the complete opposite of what is sought out through decentralization in the world of cryptocurrencies.
As if that were not enough, customers are in the process of suing the company for promoting and trading GN token. This class action lawsuit was filed in federal court in California and alleges that both Coinbase and GMOZ, the company behind GN, misled investors regarding the stability of the token, causing multi-million-dollar losses.
Although comparisons are odious, one of Coinbase's few consolations in these tough times is that their situation is still not as bad as that of Do Kwon.
Quite right. The tremor that has ripped through the crypto community after the fall of the LUNA token and the Terra stablecoin UST has been historic, and the shockwaves continue to affect those involved. At present, all eyes are focused on Do Kwon, with good reason.
The co-founder of Terraform Labs continues to try to save the rubble of the skyscraper that, until very recently, was Terra's project LUNA and UST, despite the tensions he currently faces. Just recently, in fact, he filed a complaint with the Seoul Police Department requesting protection after receiving a suspicious visit of an individual to his personal address.
In an attempt to get a handle of the situation, Kwon submitted 3 proposals this week. The first was intended to save UST's dollar parity, but as it was not favored by the lunatic community, the price continued plummeting.
The second solution, however, seeks to preserve the Terra ecosystem and is still being discussed. In Terra's own research forum, Kwon proposed involves compensation of UST and LUNA holders who, during the price crash, were unable or unwilling to sell their holdings of both tokens. How? Well, by restoring the ownership of the network to 1 billion tokens distributed between LUNA and UST holders.
The third proposal was revealed just yesterday. In fact, as Do Kwon took to social media to announce a revised plan to restore Terra's ecosystem. This plan involves a new governance proposal to fork the Terra blockchain, which is known as a hard fork. This proposal will be voted on tomorrow, May 18th, and proposes that the new network not be linked to USD, leaving the previous blockchain to coexist with the stablecoin and being renamed Terra Classic.
This idea goes against the opinion of one of the most influential individuals in the crypto scene. Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, joined in presenting his proposal to redirect the Terra situation. He first disregarded the idea of making a hard fork of the Terra blockchain because, according to him, it wouldn't work. He then recommended buying back and burning as an appropriate measure to recover the value of the tokens on the market. Finally, he wrapped up by showing his support for the Terra community while simultaneously highlighting the need for more transparency on its part.
As the dust slowly starts to settle, Do Kwon has been slow to make his appearance back on social media. When he did step back into the spotlight, he declared to regret everything that happened, being heartbroken by the pain he caused all the investors of LUNA and UST. We will have to wait and see which path they choose to take. But until then, if you still don't understand the root causes behind this crash, check out our YouTube channel where we explain everything in detail. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications.
Speaking of notifications, another platform you can keep track of is our Twitter page. And if you already do, you would know that Elon Musk is back in the news. The reason? Well, the South African businessman has temporarily halted the purchase of the social network due to bots.
The number of fake accounts present on Twitter is substantial, and Musk wants to verify the validity of the data issued in May by the company, placing the representation of fake accounts at 5%. This is important as one of the pillars on which Elon Musk's proposal is based on is transparency and the removal of spam bots from the platform.
After gathering an investment of $7 billion from companies in the crypto sector such as Binance, VY Capital, and A16Z, Musk now focuses his fight on freedom of speech. Bots on Twitter have been highly criticized as many people hide behind a false identity to disrespect and create false news relating to a variety of issues, including cryptocurrencies or cryptographic companies.
You know who else is in the news? Nayib Bukele, of course, who continues on his mission to make El Salvador the epicenter of cryptocurrencies and has presented the model of the upcoming cryptographic city, Bitcoin City.
What seemed like a utopia back in November 2021 when the president announced this idea at the Feel the Bit 2021 event now seems very real. Bukele himself shared images via social media of the model of Bitcoin City, which would be located next to an active volcano.
This location is no coincidence. The Colachua volcano has seen a historical eruption but is still considered quite active. Bukele's idea, therefore, is to use the geothermal energy to mine bitcoins and supply the new city. The city, on paper, seems to have everything necessary to be considered an outright metropolis. Residential areas, entertainment areas, shopping areas, a train station, a port or an airport are just some of the services boasted by this city of the future.
Amazing. Well, despite the downtrend that the market is experiencing with Bitcoin far from its all-time high, Bukele has doubled down on the cryptocurrency. Last week, the government of El Salvador made public the purchase of 500 Bitcoins worth around $15 million at the time. The president himself was the one who, via Twitter, officially announced this acquisition, which increases Bitcoin reserves just like last January. It would seem that optimism about this project is flooding the visionary Bukele.
Over the last 2 years, pages of news outlets worldwide have been filled with coverage around the COVID-19 pandemic, a disease that affected all countries in addition to leading a global economic crisis. Now, after witnessing firsthand the impact that a pandemic can have on society, many are trying to develop tools to combat them.
Yes, and this seems to have hit very hard home for developer of the co-founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, who has contributed 4 million USD coin, which represents a figure close to 5.3 Australian dollars to the University of New South Wales to develop a tool to detect pandemics at an early stage.
The funds donated via the Balvi Philanthropic Fund, a non-profit created by Buterin, have gone towards the development of the tool based on the artificial intelligence technology and open source data that triggers early warning signs regarding possible pandemics. This tool has been named EpiWatch and will be built on the OSI-NT technology, scanning millions of publicly available online data to spot trends in potential health issues.
The Ethereum co-founder pointed out the importance of sharing data in a decentralized and open way to speed up the detection of these pandemics, stating that open analysis of public data is an excellent alternative to more intrusive forms of monitoring, which are also often only available to governments and other high bidders but closed to the general public.
In the virtual world, many companies are beginning to dive into the world of digital assets. Just last week, we reported on how luxury brand Gucci has made plans to accept crypto payments in all their US stores by summer. Now, in fact, the world's largest airline, Emirates, that decided to take the plunge.
During the Arabian travel market, the Director of Operations of Emirates, Adel Ahmed Al-Reda, stated that the company intends to use Bitcoin as a means of payment. In addition, Al-Reda stated that the possible introduction of non-fungible tokens or NFTs on the website for commercial purposes.
That's right. In a statement and in an attempt to engage with customers in a fast and more flexible way, the national airline of the United Arab Emirates intends to use digital assets to accept payments. In addition, they also have projects involving blockchain technology and the metaverse in the works.
With this step forward, In mind, Emirates would close in on the new technologies already offered by some of the most renowned companies in the sector, such as Norwegian, which has already accepted payments with Bitcoin for some time, or Air Europa, which just 2 months ago began to sell airline tickets in NFT format.
More on NFTs, non-fungible token technology continues to break new ground, both when it comes to trading them as well as regulating them. This is the case with the UK. There, the High Court of Justice in London ruled that non-fungible tokens are private property. This creates a precedent in British jurisprudence to which they can benefit under the protection of the law in case they suffer robbery or fraud.
The case to which this court alludes in its judgment is the one already known as the Booze Beauty robbery. Lavinia Osborne, founder of Women in Blockchain Talks, was the victim of the theft of 2 of these famous works from her MetaMask portfolio. These works grant their community great benefits such as access to private events, free books, or license fees.
These non-fungible tokens appeared for sale on OpenSea, and the court issued an injunction to freeze these accounts' assets, forcing the NFT exchange to reveal holder information. Despite this, the ownership of the accounts linked to the theft is quite uncertain.
Along these lines of regulation, in a 24-page long document, the German ministry explored various cryptocurrency taxation models. What stood out in this document, however, was the inclusion of a tax exemption, claiming that citizens would not have to pay any taxes on profits obtained from cryptocurrencies 1 year from their purchase.
Up until now, if a citizen did not want to incur taxes, they would have to hold their crypto assets for 10 years. Now, however, with this new model, this time span has been reduced from 10 to 1.
The problem with the previous position of the country is that cryptocurrency was viewed as a long-term investment, and therefore taxes were imposed on impatient users who did not want to wait a decade. Furthermore, as stated by the Parliamentary Secretary of State Katja Hessel, this will include cryptocurrencies used for lending or staking.
She went on to state the following official publication of the BMF letter is not the end of our discussion on the subject, but rather an intermediate result.
Wise words. One way or another, the current initiative is a pioneering event by the nation, since it's the first time that there are clear administrative guidelines on this matter. The document defines a tax regime that places Germany as a crypto-friendly nation that favours users who invest in the crypto environment.
The enormous growth of digital assets has not gone unnoticed, and many countries have begun to regulate more or less harshly in the field of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Some countries have decided to turn their back on these new technologies, while others, such as South Korea, are opening their doors to them.
In recent days, the intention of South Korea to regulate the environment of cryptocurrencies has been discovered. According to a leaked document published by the Kookmin newspaper, the Korean administration intends to approve the basic law of digital assets during 2024. This is one of the 110 objectives that the Korean president has set during his term.
The new president of South Korea, Yoon, has been very favourable to cryptocurrencies since his candidacy and has recently announced his intention to establish a regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies, making his country one of the pioneers in the favourable regulation of these assets.
The leaked drafts include measures to protect investors as well as stabilise transactions by regulating issuance, listing and digital market activities. In addition, there's a hunch that digital assets may also be spread within institutions. Among the data in the draft, they also commit to standardizing NFTs, introducing a regulatory framework for ICOs, prohibited since 2018 in the country.
In other news, many countries are investigating the route of implementing their own CBDC, one of the most recent being Chile. As reported last week, the country claims that its central bank has concluded its first evaluation regarding the pros and cons that the issuance of this cryptocurrency could entail.
Although the press release stated that this decision to launch the digital currency would require a deeper analysis regarding its pros and cons, the Central Bank of Chile highlighted the positive aspects of issuing a CBDC, stating it would enhance the benefits associated with digital transformation whilst mitigating some of the risks.
What stands out, however, with this CBDC in particular is the unique characteristics that they would want to bestow on it. In the report published by the Chilean central bank, they state that they want the CBDC to be able to be used for both online and offline payments. Furthermore, they look to implement a feature that would allow the authorities to trace transactions. Finally, the intention of the Chilean regulator is for this digital currency to coexist and be convertible to cash.
Web3 seems to be giving dying projects a second chance. For instance, following Napster's several acquisitions, investment fund Hivemind and Algorand are next in line, as they have purchased the platform with the aim of revolutionizing the music industry. To achieve this goal, the blockchain and Web3 concepts will be merged in an attempt to put Napster in a position to compete with industry giants such as Spotify.
In its golden days, the platform possessed close to $70 million in assets and had 80 million customers per month, with an average of 2 billion downloads a month and 25 songs per user. However, after numerous copyright disputes, Judge Marilyn Hall Patel ordered its termination in 2001.
To head this new operation, Emmy Lavelle has been named interim CEO. Lavelle has held a variety of senior digital roles before joining the Napster group, working with WA Europe, Warner Music Group, and artists such as Kylie Minogue, The Chemical Brothers, Gorillaz, Deadmau5, Danger Mouse, and Tiny Temper.
This isn't the first case of dead platforms rising from the ashes, however. Recently, LimeWire also announced its return in the form of an NFT marketplace and announced the arrival of LMWR, the token that will be the heart of its revamped ecosystem.
Going back to Spotify, however, the company continues to channel innovation. This time, it shoots its shot with NFTs. The American company will allow its users to view non-fungible tokens of some of its artists on the platform, as reported by specialized music website Music Ally.
It even launched a survey around user opinions on NFTs. Despite this, at the moment, Spotify does not plan to market directly with these digital collectibles. This is just a new approach taken by the music platform towards Web3, since in early May it launched Spotify Island, its own metaverse in Roblox.
Moving on to top gainers and losers, however, in gainers we find Maker. This is not surprising, as Maker is the governance token of the DAI ecosystem, a stablecoin that competes with the UST. As a result of Terra's plunge, it seems as though investors have gravitated towards other stablecoins such as DAI. This is followed by Algorand and finally Elrond.
In terms of top losers, surprisingly, we've got a stablecoin. The UST fall has caused the loss of parity with the dollar and positions it as a cryptocurrency with the greatest bearish movement today. This is followed by Axie Infinity and Atom.
In terms of market cap volume, Avalanche seems to have recovered from the crash of the Terra ecosystem and positions itself as a token with the highest market cap volume in the DeFi ecosystem. This is followed by Wrapped Bitcoin and DAI.
And in the blockchain field, the total value lock plummets, reaching levels seen in June 2021. Ethereum, BNB Chain, Avalanche and Sol, whereas Terra, which up until a week ago was in second place, is out of sight.
As for the main tokens of the NFT ecosystem, however, Flow has made first place after exceeding 3 billion in capitalization volume, unseating ApeCoin, which is placed second ahead of Decentraland.
And this brings us to the end of today's newscast. Don't forget to leave your comments below. We'll see you in our next Mundo Crypto newscast.